Selected parts from the book My Life Story, written by Shri K. J. Dhillon, part 16 and 17. Having served most of my life in the most prestigious and always in combat formation of the Indian Army, and voluntarily each time, it was my dream to command 15 corps when I got approved for the rank of Lieutenant General in December 2017 in the Command and Staff stream. Being approved in this stream meant that I had been found suitable to command a formation, course, and above, as also that I could be a staff officer at any headquarters of Indian Army. Only 11 officers had been approved for the rank of Lieutenant General in this stream among all the officers commissioned in the year 1983. This chapter takes me back to my epochal tenure as Chinar Course Commander, which was not only eventful in itself but also coincided with two momentous events in the history of the country, that is, the dastardly attack on the CRPF convoy in Pulwama in February 2019 and the abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A in Kashmir in August 2019. The time for reckoning came towards the mid December 2018 during a late evening meeting with the then Chief of the Army Staff, General Bipin Rawat, in his office. After we finished with the work at hand, without mincing any words, he came straight to the point, asking me, Tiny, when are you picking up the command of a course? I told him, Sir, I am waiting. As per the order of seniority, I am in the 8th or ninth position. So, the appointment might happen sometime in October 2019 or so. General Rawat then asked me, Are you willing to go to 15 course? My instant response, without batting an eyelid, was, Yes, sir. And back came his concurrence as he told me, Okay, go to 15 course and do a good job. These exact 10 words are etched in my memory forever now, as they symbolized the faith reposed in me by none other than my chief himself. The command of 15 Corps is considered the most prestigious in the Indian Army, as it is the only corps that is actively involved in very intense operations on both the line of control as well as in the hinterland on a daily basis. And as a soldier, there can be nothing better than being posted in an operational area where active operations keep taking place. Thus, my posting order to join 15 Corps as a general officer commanding was issued within the next few days with instructions for me to take over the 15 course on 9 February 2019. However, as the weather delayed the move of our outgoing course commander, I practically took over the reins of China course on 10th February 2019. It was not even 100 hours, and I had barely completed the process of taking over charge of 15 Corps Command when the infamous Pulwama incident occurred on 14 February 2019. A lot has been written and said about the Pulwama incident, but I will touch upon a few less known aspects related to it. To give you a background of this incident, a suicide bomber drove an explosive laden car into a Central Reserve Police Force convoy that was moving along the Srinagar highway, and as the car reached close to the convoy, the vehicle was blown up by the suicide bomber. I received information of the attack within the first few minutes of its occurrence and immediately called up the then Inspector General of the CRPF, Mr. Julfikar Hassan, to check with him the details of the incident. Some damage had obviously been inflicted on the convoy by the bomber, but we did not immediately know the magnitude of the danger or the extent of the casualties and fatalities. I immediately alerted the army helicopter units and pushed all the available helicopters into service for casualty evacuation, simultaneously also warning the 92 base hospital, which is the army hospital in the Badami Bagh cantonment, about the casualties that were expected to reach the hospital anytime. All the doctors at the hospital were also instructed to report for duty immediately and be prepared to handle the casualties and injured persons who would be requiring immediate treatment. The real time response to such an incident is reflected in a synergy between the various forces concerned. This suo moto response by me without awaiting the official requisition is a hallmark of the highly coordinated manner in which all the security forces, intelligence agencies, and the civil administration in Jammu and Kashmir operate. An important point that I wish to emphasize here has to do with the fact that some among the general public and a few political speakers in the country have called the Pulwama episode an intelligence failure. Intelligence is a very complex and sensitive subject which entails detailed coordination among different operating agencies at various levels. The word intelligence by itself implies the collection, synthesis, sifting, and sorting of the information gathered by the intelligence functionaries and then corroborating it and finally coming to the conclusion as to whether the information thus far obtained or available is reliable enough or still has certain voids. We keep intercepting intelligence inputs and start collating and building on the inputs gathered from all the agencies to create what we call an intelligence picture. Then the appropriate agencies are tasked to further obtain specific information to fill the intelligence voids, as it is called. The complete procedure is once again reviewed, and it is only after this that information turns into intelligence. Even at this stage, it is either an actionable intelligence, that is, red hot intelligence, which needs to be acted upon immediately, or it would act as a background intelligence Such intelligence is used for further developing or monitoring. The operation based on such intelligence is sprung or launched at the most appropriate time when the dividends are likely to be maximum. It is thus a highly technical and systematic process. It needs to be understood in the correct perspective that, say, out of 100 incidents ostensibly planned by terrorists, timely collection and interpretation of intelligence inputs ensures that 99 are not allowed to happen, signifying a 99% success rate for the intelligence agencies in their operations. Since those incidents are averted completely, we rarely or never talk about them, but that should not be allowed to take away from the success of the intelligence agencies. It is to prevent the enemy from realizing how we neutralized their potential threat that we do not publicize the successful intelligence operations and therefore preclude any chances of their learning about our capabilities, especially technical and human assets, for them to amend their tactics and cover their vulnerabilities. On rare occasions, we do announce openly if we have neutralized an enemy threat, but in such cases, we do not share the full details, such as the names and affiliations of the perpetrators, the source of our information, and whether we had come across a physical leak or got a technical interception. This is the reason why information about most successful intelligence operations is not in the public domain. As regards Pulwama, though, I would say that though this highly unfortunate incident should have been preempted, I would still label it as one of those rare incidents that the intelligence agencies could not counter in time. However, this does not mean that the intelligence agencies are not doing a commendable job. For them, it is a perpetual cat and mouse game as the terrorists keep employing different methods and evolving new techniques. We too need to continuously overhaul our intelligence techniques to stay one step ahead of them. I'm sharing all these details to highlight how unjustified was the subsequent criticism of intelligence agencies in social media and other forums after the Pulwama tragedy. In fact, most of the readers may not be aware that another similar suicide attack had been planned, which was intercepted and neutralized on 24 February 2019, just 10 days after Pulwama, wherein a potential suicide bomber terrorist had already made a video showcasing explosives and other weaponry to indicate plans of a second Pulwama like operation. However, when intelligence and other agencies intercepted information about the plans of this operation, the security forces moved in instantly and neutralized the module urgently. After the Pulwama incident, intelligence agencies, the Jammu and Kashmir police, and army further intensified their intelligence generation operations and were also able to successfully infiltrate the network of the proscribed terrorist organization Jaish-e-Mohammed in South Kashmir. The operation at Pinglan village on 17 February 2019, wherein the main perpetrators of the Pulwama IED blast, including Pakistani terrorist Kamran Elias Ghazi, were eliminated within 100 hours of the incident, had galvanized the security forces to eliminate the perpetrators at the earliest and not allow any more such incidents. In this endeavor, all the agencies relentlessly pursued all the intelligence inputs of the terrorist movements and were successfully in generating hard actionable intelligence regarding the presence of JM terrorists in Turigam village, planning another Pulwama like suicide attack. Deputy Superintendent of Police Kulgam Shri Aman Kumar Thakur immediately shared this input with the local army's Rashtriya Rifles unit, and a joint operation was launched on the night of 24 February 2019. I vividly remember all the details as the operation was very sensitive and we had to neutralize this module post haste lest they execute another suicide attack. We, therefore, could not afford to fail in this operation under any circumstances. Acting with stealth, speed, and surprise, the joint team was successful in trapping three JEM terrorists inside the cordon. Soon, a contact was established and a heavy exchange of fire ensued. Deputy SP Aman Kumar Thakur, a very brave officer, was personally leading his team from the front in coordination with the Army's RR unit. During the operation, he saw that Sipai Baldevram of 34 RR was hit by terrorist fire, which left the Sipai bleeding profusely. With utter regard for his personal safety and well being, Thakur evacuated Sipai Baldevram to a safe location. However, in doing so, he was hit by a terrorist firing from a concealed location. Despite his injuries, Deputy SP Aman Kumar Thakur, displaying rare courage and steely determination, evacuated the injured soldier and subsequently closed in on the terrorist. Thereafter, he engaged the terrorist accurately from close range and eliminated him in a fierce gunfight. The slain terrorist was later identified as Noman of the GM, a resident of Pakistan. Deputy SP Aman Kumar Thakur received multiple bullet wounds during this battle at close quarters with the terrorists and later succumbed to his injuries. He was awarded the Shauri Chakra posthumously by the Honorable President for his unparalleled gallantry. This operation saw some very determined and motivated sons of Mother India with steely nerves and raw courage fighting for Naam Namak Nishan as per an army adage and averting another Pulwama like tragedy. During the intense firefight in this operation, JCO Naib Subedar Sombir of 34 RR, exhibiting unmatched courage beyond the call of duty, cordoned off the target house along with his buddy, covering the most likely escape route of the terrorists. As anticipated by the JCO, one of the terrorists attempted to break the cordon by firing indiscriminately and lobbing grenades on them, which resulted in grievous injuries to his buddy. Seeing his buddy in danger and not caring about his own personal safety, Sombir seized the initiative and engaged the terrorist. In a close quarter battle, he killed the Pakistani terrorist, later identified as Osama, a category A terrorist of JM. During this extremely courageous act, Naib Suvedar Sombir received grievous gunshot wounds, due to which he made the supreme sacrifice. These acts of valor by the combined army and police teams led to the neutralization of three hardcore JM terrorists, including two Pakistani terrorists, along with the recovery of a huge quantity of weapons and explosives, and a major terrorist attack was averted in time. In this operation, three other soldiers were also critically injured and they were evacuated to the 92 base hospital in Srinagar, where all of them eventually recovered well. Naib Subedar Sombir was awarded the Shauri Chakra by the Honorable President for his indomitable spirit and valor. If these terrorists had not been neutralized 10 days after Pulwama, it would have been a huge disaster. Meanwhile, another incident of a similar terrorist attack was averted in Banihal a few months later, again because of the alertness of the intelligence agencies and their coordination with the security forces. In this case, too, all the people involved in the planned attack were caught from their respective places in real time due to the alertness and perfect coordination among security forces and intelligence agencies. Coming back to the Pulwama incident of 14 February 2019, it was actually a turning point for the nation. Such a large and radical terrorist operation, coming after a gap of many years, symbolized a major challenge for the intelligence and security agencies. This kind of a car bomb suicide attack had not happened in Kashmir for a long time, as the last time that such an attack had taken place was way back in April 2000 at Badami Bagh Cantonment Gate in Srinagar. In recent past, such attacks had happened in Syria, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Iraq, and Libya, among other places, but not in India. After the incident and post management of the casualties and the injured, a meeting of all the security forces and intelligence agencies was held, which was attended by all the high officials of the army, police, CRPF, intelligence agencies, and the civil administration. One of the points that emerged from this meeting was that all the events or discrepancies that had led to the Pulwama incident would emerge in the subsequent investigation, and the immediate main aim of the team security forces, which included the army, J&K police, CRPF, intelligence, and civil administration, should be to first target the terrorists responsible for Pulwama without indulging in any blame game, leaving the task of identifying the masterminds and behind the scenes perpetrators of the incident to the investigating agencies. I remember my ADC, Captain Sandeep Singh, asking me while we were on our way for this meeting, "Sir, what will happen now?" My curt response was, "We will get the bastards." Our immediate focus and emphasis, therefore, was on neutralizing the terrorists' module through a synergized effort among all the security forces and intelligence agencies. And we went all out in that effort, meeting numerous times over the next 48 hours, sharing the information pieces obtained by various agencies and putting together an intelligence picture. Our efforts bore results, and finally, we were able to successfully pinpoint the exact location of the module on the evening of 17 February, that is, within 72 hours of the incident. That is when we launched the counter-terrorism operation to eliminate this module of GEM. The intelligence and operational situation was being handled at multiple levels but in a highly synergized manner. The intelligence gathering through technical means and human assets was being assisted by the security forces, launching relentless operations at all the suspected hideouts of the terrorists in South Kashmir over the next 3 days with a view to unhinge the terrorists and prevent them from reorganizing and hiding at one place. It was essential for the intelligence agencies that the terrorists make a move and communicate with each other, as the lack of any movement or communication on their part would reduce the chances of the terrorists' hideout being identified by technical or human intelligence means. On receipt of specific intelligence from the JKP, a swift joint operation was launched by 55 Rashtriya Rifles, J&K Police and CRPF in the Pinglan village of Pulwama district. Pinglan is a very dense built up area having more than 60 houses, some with cowsheds and narrow lanes with limited accessibility, where any movement without being noticed was difficult. Some of the houses were multi storied and very close to each other, giving ample opportunity to the hiding terrorists to shift from one house to another even during the fight. The security forces had to act with utmost speed as they were aware that the terrorists may have been planning to shift their base yet again during the night. The commanding officer and officers of 55 Rashtriya Rifles, including Major Vibhuti Shankar Dhondial, knew the area well and they, along with the JKP officers, made a quick plan of approaching the village from multiple directions using circuitous routes to avoid detection. Without compromising the element of surprise, they completed the cordon of the target house by around midnight of 17 by 18 February 2019. Post the cordon, the forces led by Major Dhondial commenced a focused search of the target area. Without going into the operational details, here I would like to briefly narrate the most valorous act of Major Dhondial, who led his team from the front. Since his posting in the 15th RR Battalion, Major Vibhuti Shankar Dhondial had exhibited unparalleled valor and exceptional leadership qualities while leading five successful operations, resulting in the elimination of five hardcore terrorists in the past. During the search on the fateful day, when the major and his buddy were searching a suspected cowshed, the hiding terrorists opened indiscriminate fire on them, which was immediately and effectively retaliated by the duo. In this exchange of fire, Major Dhondial received multiple gunshot wounds. Despite being grievously injured, the intrepid officer maintained his tactical composure and retaliated with ferocity. He crawled close to the cowshed under fire and continued rain effective fire on the hiding terrorists. The terrorists were thus forced to move out of the cowshed, firing indiscriminately. The officer, despite his injuries and blood loss, brought down effective fire on the fleeing terrorists and neutralized one of them before they could escape into the nearby house. However, by now grievously injured, he finally fell down and despite being administered the best medical care, he could not be revived. During the course of the operation, apart from Major Dondial, Havaldar Shivram, Sepoy Harsingh, Sepoy Ajay Kumar, and Head Constable Abdul Rashid of the J&K police laid down their lives. This sacrifice by the young officer and these men, though causing us immense mental trauma, inspired and galvanized the team, which eventually succeeded in neutralizing three hardcore JM terrorists, including two Pakistani terrorists, one of them being the main mastermind of the Pulwama blast, Kamran Tharis Ghazi, along with the recovery of a huge cache of warlike stores. I remember paying homage to the brave hearts the next day, and I must confess here that the most difficult part of a commander's duty is to salute one's brothers in arms one last time. The initial reversal and the loss of Major Dhondial and his men of 55 Rashtriya Rifles did not deter the team, and the unit, without losing its morale, pressed on with the operation, which continued for another 18 hours. Brigadier Harbir Singh, the sector commander of the RR force, was on leave at the time of the Pulwama incident. The moment he came to know of the launch of this intelligence based counter-terrorist operation, he voluntarily cut short his leave, returning to resume his duties. He directly drove to the encounter site straight from the airport, taking control of the situation and leading his men from the front. He and the DIG Amit Kumar of the J&K police were on the spot, leading their boys from the front, and both were injured. The senior military and police officers leading their men in operation from the front speaks volumes of the ethos and commitment of the security forces in counter-terrorism operations. The operation ended successfully on the evening of 18 February when all the terrorists had been neutralized, albeit at a heavy cost in terms of the lives of the security forces. This question about the number of our casualties was raised in the subsequent press conference held on 19 February 2019, to which my reply was that we did not want to use excessive force that could have resulted in civilian casualties or collateral damage, and we took it on our chin. On other occasions, too, I have been asked this question many a time, especially by my civilian friends, as to why the Indian Army suffers such a high percentage of officers' casualties, be it during Operation Pavan in Sri Lanka or counter-terrorism operations in JDK or in other operational areas. My basic understanding of and explanation for this stems from what Subedar Major Nandram of my unit told me unambiguously on my first day in the army, and that was Officer Hamesha Aage. The officer always leads from the front. However, as I progressed in my army service, I realized the more pragmatic reasons for this simple advice. The most important aspect and consideration of any military operation is to ensure minimum losses of own men and resources while achieving success in the operation at the earliest. It is here that the commander's control from the scene of action is extremely critical because he is the one who has the maximum inputs and information about the target prior to the launch of the operation and the subsequent evolving intelligence in picture during the operation. During the operation, all the means of communication with higher headquarters or his own controlling headquarters are available with the commander, which makes him the most suitable person for modifying the plan or asking for reinforcements or any other initiative as per the evolving operational situation. An NCO or a JCO who may be part of or commanding one of the many teams in that particular operation, on the other hand, would not have access to these inputs and would be following the commander's instructions to make the overall operation a success. In case the commander is not present right at the place of action, the passage of the situation report may get delayed and the full picture may never be available to the commander sitting away from the operational area. Hence, it is critical for the commander of the team to always lead from the front, enabling him to take timely and well informed decisions that help save lives. Any signs of weakness or capriciousness on the part of the commander could thus prove costly for the operation. Simultaneously, it is important to remember that the Indian Army never retreats. We might modify the plan or seek reinforcements or even wait and bide our time in an operation, but we never retreat and the commander always leads from the front. The persistence of the security forces to complete this operation in the face of all odds was also evident from the fact that despite suffering casualties right at the beginning, they stayed put and did not abandon the operation, eventually achieving the objective. If they had let down their guard or suffered a loss of morale after the initial casualties, the terrorists might have escaped. In this operation, Head Constable Abdul Rashid from the J&K police, who belonged to Karna in Tangdar Baul, also laid down his life and was awarded the Kirti Chakra posthumously. I met his wife and brother-in-law during the investiture ceremony when they had come to receive the posthumous award from the Honorable President of India. When my wife and I spoke with the wife of Head Constable Abdul Rashid and I narrated to her how bravely her husband had fought the terrorists, she expressed surprise that even though I was from the army and her husband was a policeman, I knew everything about him, including the name of his village and also the circumstances in which he had made that supreme sacrifice. This also proves that when we are conducting an operation, all the members of the team are like brothers in arms and we do not differentiate between the colors of our uniforms. Every soldier, every constable on guard is a member of the security forces and it is based on this concept of brotherhood under fire that I coined the term team security forces. Coming back to Pulwama, after our operation against the module that had planned the Pulwama attack, we eliminated the main mastermind of the Pulwama blast, a Pakistani terrorist called Kamran, a commander of the JM terrorist outfit whose code name was Ghazi. Ghazi used to be a preferred code name for the Pakistani terrorists, and many terrorists with this code name have been killed by security forces in the past, including one Ghazi Baba killed by the BSF in 2003 in Kashmir. We had a press conference the day after the Pinglan operation was completed. There is a small history behind that famous press conference. Since I had taken over the 15 course just 4 days prior to the Pulwama incident, I was scheduled to visit the line of control. I was suddenly informed about the press conference and had to return to base. The IG JKP, Mr. Soimpani, IPS, IG of the CRPF, Mr. Julfikar Hassan, IPS, and GOC Victor Force Major General Johnson Matthew were also present at that press conference. While I was sitting in my office along with the other officers mentioned above, waiting for the media persons to assemble and set up their equipment, my staff handed me a one-page press note with the suggestion that I read out that press note while its copies would be distributed among all the media persons present at the conference. I asked if there would be any questions and I was told that there would be no question answer session. I also asked if the press conference would be aired live and was once again told no sir, it is not live. You just have to read out this press note in front of the journalists and then walk away. My reply was, I'm not attending this press conference like this. I want it to be live. I will speak whatever I have to speak. I am not taking this one page press note. I will take as many questions as they want to ask, be they from the international or the national media, because if we do not take questions, no one will ever know the reality, and the message we will be sending out is that we have something to hide or cover up. So, having this interactive press conference was an on the spot decision. Subsequently, the message I received from various quarters proved that the whole nation appreciated the effort of the team security forces. A lot of questions were asked in this press conference of 19 February 2019, details of which are still available on many internet platforms. I recall that the press conference continued for well over 40 minutes, with our initial comments being not more than 4 to 5 minutes, and the questions by the journalists accounting for the balance of the time. Ever since the Pulwama incident 4 days prior, the media had been sensationalizing the name Ghazi as the main mastermind of the attack, and therefore, among the many other questions that were asked, one question that came towards the end of the press conference was whether Ghazi had been killed or not. And that is when I made my seminal statement, which has since become famous. कितने गाजी आए कितना गाजी गए परवाह नहीं, we are there, don't worry. Another question that was asked in the press conference had to do with the Taliban in Afghanistan and the likelihood of Taliban fighters coming to Kashmir for fighting. Although the resurgence of the Taliban in Afghanistan took place on 15 August 2021, this press conference was held 2.5 years earlier on 19 February 2019. My response to the question about the potential resurgence of the Taliban in Afghanistan and its possible impact on Kashmir was: a lot has been written and said about the situation in Afghanistan and its impact on Kashmir. But coming down to the Kashmir Valley, we are very clear that anyone who enters the Kashmir Valley will not go back alive in whichever way. Our focus is very clear on counter-terrorism operations. Any discussion of the terrorist operations and their violent fallout would be incomplete without a mention of the stellar role played by the 92 Base Hospital, the military hospital located inside the Badami Park cantonment in Srinagar. This hospital is staffed by doctors in all the important specialties relating to the management of trauma and war injuries. It is staffed with more doctors from the specialties of surgery and anesthesiology, basically because a lot of patients come here with injuries such as gunshots or wounds caused by explosives, as these are typical injuries suffered by security forces, especially in Kashmir. This hospital is one of the finest hospital in the country and the best doctors are posted there. During any operation conducted by the security forces, the doctors, nurses, and the entire staff at the hospital are always on stand to or full alert so as to not waste a single second in attention to the incoming casualty. At times, when a critically injured soldier requiring urgent care is being flown in by helicopter, the medical team receives it at the helipad itself and the treatment commences right then and there. Even the Jammu and Kashmir Police and CRPF casualties prefer to be evacuated to the 92 base hospital instead of the civil hospital in Kashmir. There is a very strong belief among all the police personnel and soldiers that if they reach the 92 base hospital breathing, they will survive. This hospital has the golden reputation of saving the maximum number of casualties provided they are brought alive. The doctors, nurses, and the entire support staff are so committed that there is no concept of being on duty or being off duty. They have jackets of various colors depending on the rank and specialty, which are placed in a particular room called the trauma center in the hospital where casualties are brought in first. The moment there is news of an incident wherein some casualties are expected, all the doctors and nurses get information via a central alarm system and all of them rush to the trauma center of the hospital. Regardless of whether they are wearing a uniform, civil dress, jeans and t-shirts or whatever, they just slip on their jackets over their dresses which depict their ranks and specialization and get down to the job at hand in the most professional manner. I have personally seen all the staff, including the doctors and nurses, rushing to the hospital within 5 to 7 minutes and getting into the operation theatre in the first 10 minutes of receiving news of the arrival of a casualty at the hospital. When an ambulance reaches the hospital with a casualty, the ambulance gate is opened and a stretcher is immediately placed against it. The hospital has a commendable concept of six people team, which includes an anesthesiologist, a surgeon, a radiologist, and others, all of whom are present at the gate of the ambulance ready to receive the patient. They are so well prepared that they do not waste any time even while bringing the casualty from the ambulance to the trauma center and thereafter to the operation table as needed. They immediately start working on the patient, assessing the injuries and carrying out checkups even while evacuating him from the ambulance. The X-rays and the emergency CT scans is done at this trauma center as required, and the casualty is then immediately ferried to the operation theater where the team comprising multiple surgeons, anesthesiologists, and other staff are already waiting to carry out the required intervention or surgery. The entire exercise of transporting the casualty from the ambulance to the operation theater and carrying out all checks and tests does not take more than 10 minutes, and this protocol is implemented 24 into 7 throughout the year. Here, I want to specifically mention a very interesting anecdote which was narrated to by Soyam IPS, IGP Kashmir, at the time when Pulwama occurred. He said that when he was a newly commissioned young SP in Kashmir, like all military cantonments, proper checking used to take place at the entry gates of Badami Bagh cantonment to as a security drill, following which the entry passes were issued. Entry into the hospital was allowed only on showing the security pass, and anyone coming without a pass was not allowed to enter the cantonment area. Soyampani told me that as young police officers, they always carried their security passes to the 92 base hospital in their pockets so that if they were hit by a bullet or a grenade, there would be no wastage of time in trying to get a new pass made at the gate. All the police officers used to carry this pass so that they could reach the 92 base hospital at the earliest, in the belief that एक बार बादामी बाग हॉस्पिटल पहुंच गया तो बच जाएंगे. If we reach the Badami Bagh Hospital alive, we will survive. My salute to all the lifesavers at the 92 base hospital. Thanks for listening.